Even Clan Yarikawa failed to take Castle Kaneda. How could he? Maybe walls can't, but even one ghost can't drive an entire army out of that place.
He has help. The spirit of Lady Adachi, who was burned alive, and an archer who was murdered by his own student.
What? That's awful.
Yeah, for the Mongols.
You know about the samurai who's going around killing the enemy?
My wife's brother saw him. He's real.
Or a real samurai. A thief.
What do you mean? Some coward stole a dead samurai's armor?
Not a man. A woman. She put on the armor and now she fights with the bravery of 10 men.
But they say the samurai is working with a woman, and she's the one who's a thief.
No. That's her younger brother. She makes him wear her clothes and pretend to be a woman, so the Mongols won't kill him.
Ah, very clever of her.
When I heard these NPC conversations for the first time, it got me thinking about a rather subtle theme of Ghost of Tsushima, and that's the way that legends grow. The common people of Tsushima speculate or spread hearsay about the lone samurai who survived, but the truth is elusive. There are conflicting stories, and some of it skewed by opinions or presumptions, while the player themselves knows the truth. But then it got me thinking a little deeper. Ghost of Tsushima is fairly grounded in its narrative, but Jin Sakai does have some mythical elements to his character. Jin survives multiple encounters with death, the most notable being his survival at Komoda. He suffered serious wounds, but our hero recovers in a rather short matter of time. Jin has a special connection with nature and the kami, and also seems to have a supernatural ability to spark fear in the hearts of his enemies with the ghost dance. So let's get speculative for a moment. The ghost itself is a fictional character by Sucker Punch. But what if the game is secretly self-aware that he is fictional all along? What if neither the typhoon of Japanese legend or the ghost of Sucker Punch creation were responsible for the liberation of Tsushima? What if everyone in Ghost of Tsushima wasn't real? Well, most of them anyways. Here's how I would imagine it. On the night of Komoda Beach, 80 samurai confront the Mongol invaders, and all goes the same as the game until we reach the moment where Lord Shimura and Jin Sakai find the Khan. Here, our story diverges from the game, and we see the truth behind the Ghost of Tsushima. Jin Sakai and Lord Shimura both die when a Mongol explosive hits them. There is no dramatic revenant story, no comeback. Jin is left to rot on the ground, while Lord Shimura's armor and belongings are taken by Khotun Khan to Castle Kaneda. The next day, a scavenger named Yuna comes across the body of Jin and sees his sword. The sword is in nearly perfect condition, sticking into the ground, so she takes it without hesitation. Immediately, she gets a sense of pity for the samurai and decides to take his armor and bury him out of respect. The armor is fairly damaged, but it will serve some purpose. When she puts on the armor and holds the sword, it's like she feels a presence around her, a feeling of peace, but also a desire to fight, something she hasn't felt in a long time. Unfortunately, Yuna took too long at the beach, and by the time she comes back to Komoda town, the village is ransacked, and her brother Taka has been taken captive. Wearing the armor and wielding the sword, Yuna feels like she's given the strength and wisdom of the samurai in her pursuit of the Mongols, to find where Taka has been taken. Yuna is normally not a fighter, but she will risk everything for him, and fight with whatever means necessary. Her skill in stealth proves useful, but there come times when she must fight head-on, and courage always fills her spirit on those occasions. It's like someone is there guiding her blade, spurring her on to be brave, to be better than the thief she was before. Eventually, Yuna finds Taka with the help of Kenji at Azumo Bay, and he is surprised to find her with the sword and armor. They escape together and decide it would be best to go north to find a place with a boat to sail away to the mainland. Taka wears Yuna's old clothes to disguise himself, and they set out to Castle Kaneda, only to discover that it is filled with Mongols. In order to break through, Yuna gathers a band of peasants to help her infiltrate the castle. Not characters we know from the game, but average people who hardly know how to fight. Taka builds the grappling hook for Yuna at this point. In order to get people to fight for her, Yuna spins fanciful tales of how a vengeful samurai possesses her blade and has called her to fight the Mongols. Because she is such a good fighter, the people believe her, and the peasants take over Castle Canada with stealth tactics. So Act 1 would end. Act 2, Yuna seeks to go further north, but is conflicted on how much she needs to help. Her former self wishes just to escape, but she feels the dead samurai compelling her to stay and inspire the people. She meets the two samurai, Kotaro and Jiro, and gives them Lord Chimura's armor and sword, which she found at Castle Canada, in order to prove that she's on their side. The two samurai tell her they will only help her get to the mainland if she can help them and recruit the people of Yarikawa to fight for them. Yuna must return to her hometown, which she despises so much, and rescue them in their defense against the Mongols. She attributes the victory not to herself, but to the ghost, and to the courage he bestows on all people who follow him. The people of Yarikawa believe her after what they've seen, and so they agree to take Castle Shimura when their reinforcements arrive. Also, while in Yarikawa, Yuna digs up an old poison recipe for vermin, taken from her grandmother's old home. In the meantime, Taka has been more and more inspired to fight by watching his sister's example, and so he tries to do some spying in spite of Yuna's warnings. However, Taka gets betrayed by some of their own people, Ryuzo and the Straw Hats, and Taka is killed in a similar fashion by Khotun Khan at Fort Koyasan. Yuna doesn't get there in time, and feels entirely responsible for his death. Now drawn into a quest for vengeance, Yuna vows to sacrifice her life in the name of avenging her brother. Clan Oga arrives on Tsushima, and Yuna, the de facto leader of the peasants, makes a tentative agreement with the samurai to attack Castle Shimura. She is willing to go so far, but when there are too many deaths, she questions who she should be fighting for. Yuna is reminded that while vengeance is important, the people of Tsushima and their lives matter even more. The story plays out similarly to the game, where Yuna wears the armor Taka makes for her. She infiltrates Castle Shimura and uses the old poison recipe to kill the remaining Mongols. Yuna finds the leader of the Straw Hats, Ryuzo, but he's already been executed by the Khan. When Clan Oga arrives to assess the damage, they declare Yuna the war criminal, who had no right to defy orders from them, so she escapes north with the help of Kenji. In Act 3, Yuna tries to undo the damage done when Khotun Khan steals the poison recipe and uses it for his own ends. Yuna is all in on destroying the Khan, so she does everything she can to rebuild the peasant army in Kamiagata, opening a passage through the mountains for her allies to come join her. She is so lost in her delusion at this point that she has created a whole web of tales of all the dead spirits she's met. A sensei killed by his student, a lady samurai murdered by her jealous sister, and a warrior monk burned alive. Her group of ghostly comrades take her from one mission to another, and even Kenji thinks she's lost her mind at this point, since he hasn't seen or heard anything, but he still supports her. Most peasants believe her as a mediator between the living and the dead, and she believes this too. Yuna sends a letter to Castle Shimura letting Clan Oga know that the peasant army is going to Port Izumi to stop the Khan, and they can either sit and do nothing or try to help before it's too late. Clan Oga does arrive to save the day, and this allows Yuna to kill the Khan in battle. The story would end with the ghost army on the loose, being rounded up and punished by the samurai because Yuna no longer controls them. The truth is, she feels just like them, in that she followed the ghost the whole time, not herself. She is 100% convinced that the ghost was real, no matter what anyone said, because the actions he inspired were real. Yuna, however, is so delusional at this point that, while she got her revenge, her grief about Taka is never quelled, and so she remains a recluse on Tsushima with no friends and no hope for a future. all she can think about is the past and the ghost who continues to haunt her. The epilogue might be her discovering what clan the sword and armor belonged to, and finally burying the items in the Sakai cemetery. Now that the ghost is laid to rest, Yuna finally finds peace in knowing she accomplished what the ghost wanted her to do. So let's sum up what I've outlined here. The main story of the invasion and liberation of Tsushima has enough plot points divorced from its titular character that it can be told without Jin Sakai even being there. You don't need Sensei Ishikawa, Masako, Norio, even Lord Chimura to be alive in the story. They can all be figments of a peasant's imagination as she spreads the legend of the ghosts. There is nothing that Jin Sakai does in the original story that can't be done by someone else. So when we ask, can you have Ghost of Tsushima without Jin Sakai and most of the main characters? I say it's absolutely possible. Ghost of Tsushima is ultimately not about a particular person, but about the legend itself spreading and inspiring action. A story about a peasant woman and her spiral into madness might not be the most interesting game to play, but if this were the actual context, that would mean that we, the players, are living a mythic tale fabricated by the people of Tsushima themselves, and not the actual events that took place. I think that's a pretty unique idea. Of course, this is only a theory about the game's plot, but I like to think the peasants of Tsushima were onto something, and it would be ironic, but fitting if they were the only real characters, while everyone else we come to know are just figments of their imagination. I hope you enjoyed exploring this theory with me. It was just a bit of fun. If you have any other ideas to add to this theory, let me know in the comment section below. I would love to read them. Anyhow, thank you for watching, and see you guys next time.